Haiti Progrès, and Luso Americano newspapers and by distribution to administrative offices of the Newark Public Schools. A copy of this meeting notice was forwarded to City Hall for posting. This is a regular advisory board meeting, Tuesday, January 26, 2010.
Everyone, please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America.
Which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Arnold. Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Ms. King.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Ms. Pintor.
Here.
Mr. Rivera. Ms. Romero. Ms. Davis Spate. Ms. White.
Thank you. We will now have greetings from our principal here at Louise H. Spencer School, Mr. Guyton. Mr. Guyton, if you can step up to the mic.
Good evening.
Can't see. Thank
To
you.
Dr. Clifford B. Janey, Superintendent, Mr. Samuel Gonzalez, Advisory Board Chairperson, Ms. Sadia White, Chief Academic Officer, Advisory Board members, executive staff, colleagues, parents, of course, and all others representing the Newark Public Schools community. I am Kevin Guyton, principal of Louise A. Spencer, and on behalf of the Spencer family, I'd like to extend a warm welcome. Certainly it is an honor for us to serve as the host for such an important gathering. In order to continue with the extension of, of course, a welcome and greetings, I'd like to call forward our wonderful parent liaison, Ms. Mary McDaniel.
Good evening. Dr. Janey, advisory board members, parents, teachers, and the community. The main thing I want to say, without parent involvement, we are nothing. Thank you.
Before introducing the person who will handle the next segment of the meeting, I would like to just publicly thank all of the Louise A. Spencer family, those who assisted in the preparation for tonight's meeting. So please give yourselves a hand. You are certainly appreciated. At this time, I'd like to call forward Mr. Shane Zwiebel, our instrumental music teacher, and he will introduce the next segment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Guyton, and good evening, everybody. Dr. Janey, Advisory Board, welcome to Louise A. Spencer, and it would not be a traditional welcome without a few tunes from our band. These students have shown excellence and have done very well throughout the year. They are going to perform a few of the beginner songs that they had been working on. I hope you enjoy them, and this is all thanks to parent cooperation and help and support. Without parents, this would not be possible. Thank you. Thank you. No show is complete unless we start with a march. A lot of these children that you see have just started playing this year. However, one fine young man has not, and he's going to present a tune. Would you like to introduce yourself? Who will introduce it? Mr. Keyshawn Mayo on trumpet.
Hi, my name is Keyshawn Mayo, and I am an 8th grader here at Louise A. Spencer. Tonight I will be performing a selection entitled It's Alright With Me, which is a solo piece by Cole Porter.
Keyshawn Mayo. Keyshawn is one of the fine, young, talented people here in Newark, and there are aplenty. I'd like to take this time before we play our last selection to introduce the band. We have Brittany Little on clarinet, Nidekwa Johnson on clarinet, Quadri Shells, trumpet, and again, of course, the ever-incomparable Mr. Keyshawn Mayo, Mr. Jody Staggers on trombone, Elson Martinez on trombone, Haikia Watkins on snare drum, who, by the way, got the call just this morning as our other drummer got sick. So a nice job again by Haikia. And Mr. Devontae Grant on bass drum. And in spirit of things, we'd like to say thank you again for coming tonight. Thank you for listening. Without you, we would not be here. With that, we'd like to say goodnight in our own way.
Before I turn it over to Dr. Janey, let me just thank Mr. Guyon for that warm welcome. Thank the band for that wonderful selections. They did a great job. Let's give them another round of applause. And to Mr. Guyon and the staff here at LA Spencer, the students and community, keep working hard. Good things will happen. So I'll turn it over to our district superintendent, Dr. Janey.
Take your time. Thank you, young men. We are distinguished this evening by the presence of some students representing Newark who entered for the very first time as rookies a competition in the area of robotics. They tied for 19th among 46 different competitive jurisdictions throughout the state of New Jersey and won the Judges Award. They won it in large part because they had not seen a rookie team so poised and so focused on working together as a team and working on problems together and solving them. This particular team is from Ann Street School, and would its leadership stand up, please, those adults who are here representing our students? And as we get a chance each month to highlight some of the successes that require work, thought, energy, and collaboration, I do not want to leave anything out in what they have accomplished to date. So through the principal, I'm going to ask either she or someone from the school to fill in some of the detail that I might have not picked up in terms of their accomplishment that the public would like to know this evening. And while they're making a decision who comes up before the mic, let me point out that I have offered the students a chance to see how actual robots are now involved in all types of different kinds of surgery. It is a burgeoning career, and from where they are right now with respect to robotics competition, I've invited them to one of our local hospitals to see appropriately how robots are assisting in reducing human error in terms of operations and having patients come out of those operations more cared for, ironically, by a team, and the robot is part of a team. May not be human, of course, but the robot acts as part of a team, certainly led and directed by a team of medical staff. Your name, sir?
Yes, good evening, Dr. Janey. My name is Tim Coughlin, and I am one of the 2 robotics coaches here at Ann Street School. I think the only thing that we would like to possibly add to everything you said, because you did encompass just about everything we had to say, is that the robotics talks about the ideals of teamwork, problem solving, and it really allows our students to get a real-world application of what they're going to be doing in the future. Like you said, it's a cutting-edge field. It's something that we're going to be moving towards, and the elementary robotics program really fosters that idea of scientific inquiry, mathematics, and hopefully spurs them into a career into this field, as well as interest in it, in going into high school as well. We are very proud of what they have accomplished, and I believe, I speak for Mr. Pastor, myself, Mr. Mohammed, that like you pointed out, they are a rookie team. We are both rookie coaches, and it was through a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours, and a lot of teamwork that we were able to accomplish our goal.
Well, this is indeed a milestone. Would we have our student leaders please stand up and be recognized?
Stand.
Would any one of the students wish to speak to us and teach us what it meant for the first time to compete?
Giuseppe, please. Not Giuseppe.
And they're being issued certificates as, who's coming up?
I believe Gabriel would like to, we talked about things that they would like to discuss, and I know Gabriel has a lot to speak about as far as how it felt to be on the team and how it was at the competition for the first time event. So if you like, Gabriel.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Hilario.
Speak a little louder, please.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Hilario. For the first time, this is a great experience for me, myself, and all the other colleagues that have been part of this robotics experience in teamwork and work through science and math. We are enlightened, we are enriched with the learning experience of being enjoyed in teamwork with each other and learning how to deal with cooperation. This has helped us know how to make a settlement of a structure in a robot, how to work with scientific methods, and this is very good for not just us, but the young and youth of all children that should be enlightened by this experience to deal with structures of science and math.
Thank you. Thank you. As you see, we have ambassadors here from Spencer and here from Ann Street this evening. We welcome all of you, and we appreciate the work that you're doing, and we express together from this dais the pride that we see in how you're conducting yourselves as young citizens in Newark. Thank you very much. Turn it back to you.
Now we'll turn it over to Board Member King, who will make some parent recognitions. If Ms. Pintor and Mr. Lewis, if you can stay down there for parent recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. First, I want to say good evening to everyone here. And I also want to say that as an advisory board member, we go to many different schools, and some are more impressive than others. But I just want to say, from the moment I came here tonight, I have really been impressed. I had the opportunity to know Miss Spencer very well, her and her family, for a long time, and I can tell you she would really be proud that this school is named after her. So I just want to say thank you. As you know, the parents play a major part in making sure our children develop and grow. The Newark Public School Advisory Board Community Relation Committee wishes to recognize parents who are making a difference in the lives of our students as individuals and in our district as a whole. With approximately 40,000 students in the Newark Public School, there must be many, many exemplary parents. This parent recognition program, which began in 2004, will continue to shine the spotlight on those who support the district's 6-point parental involvement model, which consists of parenting, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, decision-making, and community involvement. We are pleased to recognize one parent from each region at each advisory board meeting this year. The parents were nominated by their children's principals. Tonight's Parents Recognition Award recipients are, from the Central East Region, Claudia Makata from Quitman Street School. From the West Region, Kyle Rivers, 13th Avenue School. From the North Region, Demetria Glossupper from Dr. William H. Horton School. And last but certainly not least, from the South Region, Michael Edwards from Louise A. Spencer School. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Dr. Janey.
Thank you. I'd like to briefly remind the public that beginning the second semester in a couple of weeks in February, there will be a new policy the advisory board voted upon last academic year to expect each of our student athletes to carry consistently at least a grade point average of 2.0 or higher. That goes into effect this second semester within the next couple of weeks. And some of the teams set forth some goals of their own during the fall sports. And I'd just like to report to you a couple of examples. At Central High School, its girls volleyball team wanted the team itself to earn and maintain a GPA of 2.5. That team had a 2.85 overall. So you see the students themselves are responding before the policy actually takes place. At Arts High School, the boys soccer team wanted to maintain a 2.5 average. The team came out with an average of 3.0. And Week football team set forth a goal of 2.0, and they came out with a 2.0. Now, just letting it out so that everyone knows, we had a transition period over the spring and summer. We allowed certain students who did not have a 2.0 to access academic tutors and to go to summer school, but the policy goes into effect this second semester, and we'll be coming out with a report that will compare how the GPA averages by sport and by school and overall are improving throughout the district. I also want to point out that we are partnering with a couple of our local hospitals, UMD-NJ, and St. 201 Lyons Avenue. St. Barnabas, Beth Israel's component of St. Barnabas. You're probably aware of a number of tragedies that have occurred with athletes in the professional arena, college ranks, and high school ranks when there hadn't been any pre-testing about the quality of the heart muscle itself. Sometimes the heart is enlarged and you don't know it. Some of you may remember the tragedy of Reggie Lewis, the basketball player out of the Boston Celtics, and other very, very tearful examples. We are working with Beth Israel, and they will be starting to have free examinations of our student athletes, both males and females, to determine whether or not there's anything abnormal or outside of what's a normal functioning heart that you just don't pick up unless you have a specific test for it. So we're taking this precaution, and we'll be going through each of our high schools with these kinds of examinations, of course with parental approval, to make sure our students who look fit are in fact fit internally, with especially those things that can't be picked up unless you have sensitive instruments in a hospital. I would further add a couple of more points before I close out this report and turn it over to Chair Gonzalez, that on October 14th in 2009, we instituted for the very first time Excuse me, could we take that conversation out in the back? Sir, could we take that conversation, as important as it might be, in the back so we don't have interruption? Thank you. As I was saying, October 14th, we initiated something new. We allowed our 7th and 8th graders to take the PSAT, which is a preparatory examination for the SAT. So 7th and 8th graders throughout the district who had earned a score of 225 in either the mathematics portion or the English language arts portion of the New Jersey Ask were able to participate. And there were about 1,200 or so students who did so. We already have students in grades 9, 10, and 11 taking the PSAT. And there are a couple of reasons why it's important. I am pleased and encouraged to report, however, that our 8th graders performed just below the national average of all of the 8th graders who took the PSAT this past fall. And the better you perform on the PSAT, it gives you an opportunity to score much higher on the SAT. And as you saw, perhaps some of you, in a presentation by Dr. Jennifer Robinson of Montclair State University, it's one of the universities in this state, as in many other states, that does take a look at the performance of students on the SAT. But as I remember her presentation, 60% of how they evaluate students really goes to leadership and character development and class rank, which is based on your cumulative ranking among your academic subjects. So our 8th grade class did well this past fall. We're planning next year to institute Algebra 1 in each of our K-8 schools. It will require a certified secondary mathematics teacher in each of those schools, and each student would be expected to perform satisfactorily on an end-of-the-course examination. It will mean that once a student completes Algebra 1 in that fashion, it will count as high school credit. They won't have to take Algebra 1 in high school. And the earlier we do that and the better we get prepared for it, as we are starting to do so now, our students will be much better off. And as most of you know, it isn't as difficult to get into college as it is to finish. It isn't as difficult to enter as it is to finish. And we want our students to finish, and one of the big indicators of finishing college is having a mathematics sequence, certainly beginning but not ending with Algebra 1. And finally, I'll be meeting with a group of parents from Central High School tomorrow evening. I believe the agenda has been laid out. We'll be meeting to discuss plans and issues and concerns. These kinds of meetings take place on a regular basis. Ms. Dering, who's our ombudsperson, would you stand up, Ms. Nancy Dering, so people can see who you are? And if there are parents who would like to meet over some concerns, she's been very instrumental in helping coordinating some of these meetings. And finally, I'll be holding a meeting in conjunction with our Senate leader from the West Ward, but not the West Ward exclusively. Senator Rice and I have been in conversation about the incompleteness of the new Speedway elementary school. There were some promises made by the Department of Education in Trenton. They have not been fulfilled. I am concerned about that unfulfillment, and as you know, I was not comfortable with signing off on entering Central High School because work was not complete there either. There's not an outside playground for the students, and we wish to open up each of our schools, regardless of location, whole and equal. And so we're going to be meeting with a number of members of that community so that we can make sure that when we do move in, and I'm not holding the district to move in on a date if that school is not ready programmatically. There's a difference between having a temporary certificate of occupancy or certificate of occupancy, which deals with health and safety codes, than having all of the programmatic opportunities for our kids to learn holistically. So we were scheduled to move in, I think, sometime in mid-February. That's on hold until we find out how not only will the state begin to make good on its plan, because it is in the plan to have a recreational playground area in the school area and not trade off parking spots for staff against a recreation area. We need both. We can't play one off against the other and have a zero-sum game. So we'll be scheduling some time next week once the senator returns from Washington, D.C., and that closes out my report.
Thank you, Dr. Janey. Now we'll move on to our student representative, Mr. Batista, for his presentation.
Good evening, Dr. Janey, board members, and the community. The update today is in regards to student participation in our schools. The first meeting that was held, that Dr. Janey held at Science Park High School regarding graduation requirement, grading policy, retention, and attendance was geared towards addressing the policy in those 4 areas. One of the comments that I was actually bringing to this meeting was that students were not involved, as I would have liked them to be in that initial meeting and then thereafter. And under the leadership of Ms. White and Mr. Leone, they have reached out to us and have requested that we set up a meeting geared only towards students, and so that they have a voice in those 4 areas. And so under the leadership of Ms. Deering, we will be moving towards having a meeting where we will ask students from across the district to come and address their concerns regarding those 4 areas. So I'm really excited for that, and that will, in the next month, we do not have an exact date, we'll report that out, and that will be sent out to all the schools so the principals, the teachers can share that with the students, and the students are welcome to attend that meeting. And so we're excited about that because it's going to be an opportunity for this, before that policy gets presented before this board and Dr. Janey, students have a voice in that, in those 4 policies. So that's an important. Also, the student leaders have been meeting monthly, and before this board, they will be within the next 2 months, they will be presenting proposals. And the proposals would be on a student handbook and on community roundtables. And so they will be submitting a draft proposal to Dr. Janey within the next 2 months regarding those 2 areas, a community roundtable and student handbook. And the student handbook will be a district-wide central office student handbook, not specific to any school, and the community roundtables would be similar to what we're having next month, but it would be more specific to elementary schools so that they also have a voice in district policy. So those proposals should be coming to this board, and then we will report out to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Batista. Board members, we'll now move to the voting session of our agenda. First item is academic services. We have 3 items. I'll turn it over to Mr. Arnold if there's any questions or comments regarding these 3 items. Okay, if I can have a motion and a second to take a package as a whole. If I can have a motion and a second to take a package as a whole. She might have a question before I take it. All right, I'm going to take a motion in a second, but you can ask your question. Motion by Ms. Pintor, second by Mr. Lewis. Ms. King, it's 3 items on academic services.
You want me to roll call for taking it as a whole?
Let's see if she has a question. I might pull the motion. Roll call to take the motion as a whole.
Mr. Arnold. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Ms. King. Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. Pintor.
Yes.
Same motion is second to take that as a vote. Roll call.
Mr. Arnold. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Ms. King. Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. Pintor.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Move to finance. Before I ask for a motion as a whole, I ask Chairperson of the Finance Committee, Ms. Pintor, if she has any questions or concerns regarding finance. Ms. King. Any questions regarding items 1 through 19? All right, if I can have a motion and a second, take a package as a whole. Moved by Mr. Arnold, second by Ms. Pintor. Items 1 through 19 as a whole. Roll call. It's 1 through 16 as a whole. Roll call.
Mr. Arnold. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Ms. King. Yes. Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. Pintor.
Yes.
Same mover and second for a vote. Roll call.
Mr. Arnold. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Ms. King. Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. Pintor.
Yes.
Okay. There's been a request by one of the board members to table legal action regarding to the revised visitor policy. Mr. Lewis, you're making that motion to table. Anyone can second that motion? To table, second by Mr. Arnold. Roll call to table items.
Mr. Arnold. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Ms. King. Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. Pintor.
Yes.
Motion, that action has been tabled. We will now move to public participation. Turn it over to Ms. Polak.
Yes, I just want to remind everybody, this is the portion of the meeting for public participation. Time limits for all speakers will be adhered to. All speakers will be required to give their names and addresses and will be expected to exhibit good decorum. The chairperson may interrupt any speaker or terminate any individual speaking privilege if the speaker's comments are disruptive or obscene. And we do caution individuals that a personally directed statement may be slanderous or defaming, and that the individual may be liable for his or her statements. Any individual or group that does not follow these procedures may be asked to leave the meeting.
First speaker.
Fernanda Liz Sanz.
You can come to the mic. Somebody can help her bring that down. Thank you, Mr. Wabe. So cute.
The reason why I want to transfer out of Clement because it's born and she treated us different from last year ever since that principal, the vice principal went. And if my brother transfer, I'm transferring. That's all I gotta say.
Next speaker.
Carlos Reyes.
Hello, my name is Carlos Reyes. I attend Quinman Street School. Now I'm going to talk to you of what and how should I learn without a teacher. It was December 17 when the principal had fired my teacher. It made me feel so gloomy, having to know my teacher had 2 kids and she got fired a week before Christmas. We all cried having to know our teacher got fired. She left us a message that goes like this: take care, kids, so you can all have a future. I love all of you. Then she gave us her email. We all want our teacher back. How can we learn without a teacher? Our math leader, Ms. Filicana, gave us a test we did not know. How are we supposed to pass the NJS without a teacher? We are going to get an F. Please, if you help get our teacher back, we will be so happy. She got fired for no reason but just because she a lonely teacher with 33 students and she needed help with some kids. Me and my class are begging you to help us get our teacher back. We are begging you, please. Thank you. My principal never wants to give a teacher to us because no other teacher would want 33 students. That's why we need Ms. Tuasi back, because we need to learn and we are students. Power to Ms. Tuasi, please, and thank you again.
Next speaker.
Iman Brown.
Before I call the next speaker, Mr. Reyes, if you can leave us a copy of what you just read so that we can look into it, okay? Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Brown's not appearing. Next speaker.
Donald Jackson.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good evening, Mr. Jackson.
Before I begin, maybe it's just my observation. Isn't it a little dim in here? It seems a little dark. Just my observation. Good evening. My name is Donald Jackson. I live at 79 Tracy Avenue, Newark, New Jersey, 07108. For the past 2 months, it has come to my attention that students are not receiving full credit in an Algebra 2 course. Before I go further, I want to explain myself more. For an English 1 course that I took all year, 2 semesters, I received 10 credits for block scheduling. My school uses block scheduling. I took an Algebra 1 class all year, 2 semesters, and received 10 credits. The next year, I took a geometry class all year, 2 semesters, and received 10 credits. When I get to Algebra 2, however, I've only received 5 credits, and that course was all year, 2 semesters, full block. If I'm correct, which I believe I am, I'm missing 5 credits. Students in high schools where there are 80-minute blocks here in this district are in the same situation. This 5 credits can dictate whether a student graduates or is credit deficient. This number is high in my high school. Hopefully we can correct this problem tonight. The past month, I've noticed that everyone in my school has been drained. It seems like students have just given up, but it's more so teachers and administrators in the entire school system that seem to be drained. After talking to some teachers, they've said to me that it's not so much the students, but the adults in the school and central office. As a student, it's not really my business to know what teachers have to do from central office, but whatever it is aggravating teachers. As we all know, our high schools are losing students, my peers, to the streets every day. As I mentioned earlier, we have nearly 75 students in my high school that will not be able to graduate because of credits. Another 50 students will not be able to graduate because of the HESPA. This number is much higher throughout this district. I need to know what this board will be able to do for students who cannot graduate. Will they be able to go to another type of course to receive a high school diploma or something equivalent so that they can go on and move on with their lives. Finally, I want to talk about standardized tests that we have in this district and in the state of New Jersey. Some people don't do well on tests. I know for a fact that I myself have some problems, and my peers sometimes have problems on standardized tests. As a student and as an observation that I realized that if you test a student and you pressure a student to pass one test after test after test, that student will get nervous, lose interest, and unfortunately quit. Please take my comments, questions, and concerns and help me help my school.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Next speaker.
Valeria Quiones.
Good evening, board members. My name is Valerie Quinones. I live in the West Ward of Newark. There is a lot of problems going in the West Ward with our schools, principals, vice principal. Westside High School, big problems. My grandson was in Westside, there was problems. Now he's in Knapp Academy. There's bigger problems. I don't think anybody reported to Dr. Cheney when security slapped him to the floor twice and kicked him. But yet the vice principal covered it up. Nobody wanted to pull the tape. This happened on the 13th. If they pulled the tape, I guarantee you, they done cut it out. But if a child or student is on tape, oh yeah, they're gonna roll the tape. But when it comes to our kids, the reason why our kids can't learn, we got corrupt, illiterate teachers teaching our kids that came out the system. I want an investigation on both schools. Now the kids go down to Westside. That is an old school. Morton Street School is so old, it's about to fall. The only reason why it's holding up, the scalpel, you take it from the front of the building, it's gonna crumble. I want the kids out of that school, bring them back home, up there in Bellsbury. Put those kids in Ivy Elementary up there in Mount Vernon. But yet, you can take Tiny Tim, that the man that caused so much confusion on me and Miss Q, take us to court and lie, say we threatened to have him killed, but yet he didn't show up in court. But yet you can benefit these so-called BS advocates that's out here. They're not representing parents or children. They represent themselves and their kids. I am asking you, the superintendent, you can call the shots for Bellsbury to be open. You got a new school, Speedway. We're supposed to have a brand new Bellsbury 20 years ago. I'm not asking for a brand new school. You got enough elementary. The school's not overcrowded. Give me Bellsbury High back. And let me tell you one thing. My daughter used to tutor Tiny Tim's brother, math, because he couldn't pass the lesson, he had math. All I'm asking you, I'm not gonna beg you, because I've been out here a long time. I went in retirement in 88, 89, I'm back. I know the history. We had good kids in Bellsbury High, the best track, the best football, the best teachers. You got teachers that's teaching in the West Ward, they can't even speak English or not even Spanish good. Get rid of these corrupt teachers.
Thank you, Ms. Kwame. The next speaker.
Deanna Kamina.
Ms. Kwame.
Or may I address the board, Mr. Gonzalez, Chairman Gonzalez and Dr. Janey?
No, this is Ms. Kwame speaking. Is that Ms. Baez?
Yes,
Ms. Baez will be speaking. About 5 other speakers, okay? Before. Go ahead, Ms. Kwame.
Diana Kwamina, P.O. Box 6026, Newark. I'm about equal opportunities. There's a music teacher whom students has called me and told me, gave me some information that this individual is being placed under punishment by the administrator of the school, all because she decided to help break up a fight in the school. I want this looked into and why the administrator called diapers in on her. Your staff needs to take a drug test. I'm tired of seeing them in the West Ward. Okay? Also, I have been told at Westside High School that there has been a 30-day contract being placed on children's parents are signing these contracts, not getting a copy of the contract. If the child mess up, they're being transferred to Westside Academy. It's wrong. Parents are not getting a copy of this contract, all because they stated to me that this is something that the state district superintendent opposed to the school, which I know that was a lie. So I did clear that matter up with the parents. Please open up Vailsburg High School, get these kids out the Central Ward and place them back in the West Ward where they belong. I want to talk about the IEP and the PRC. You know, these children have representation. Your principals, your teachers, they have representation, but our regular ed students have no representation, nor any representation pertaining to these various organizations that's on the outside. Parents, grandparents, guardians, our children need us more so than ever. Our regular ed kids, we need to be there for them. It's critical that we do. Also, I want to piggyback on something that Ms. Keonis said about a so-called advocate. And many of you seem to give this advocate power in the state. And this power needs to be taken away. All because I stepped in because some children were being abused. The school need to start monitoring our kids a little bit better so that they can pick up what I picked up. DIFAS finally came in on 9/21, removed the kids. 9/25, this individual went to court, took out a complaint on myself, and Ms. Keonis said that we threatened to hurt this person and get them killed. The person never showed up. The judge dismissed the case. I did not want the case dismissed. I didn't care how the individual got there. I told him he could send Scooby-Doo up there and get him and bring him to court to answer that complaint. So I know if this happened to me as a parent, I know that many staff members has also been to court with this individual, and this individual is not showing up. It's a scare tactic. These so-called advocates that claim that they're out here helping our children and the parents, they're not here for us, and I'm asking the school to step up to the plate and stop allowing these advocates to think that they have so much power in their hands.
Thank you, Ms. Kwame. Next speaker.
Lucius Jones.
Mr. Jones. Hi, Diamond. Mr. Jones.
Lucius Jones, United Parents Network, 224 Richelieu Terrace, Newark, New Jersey. Last month I came up here and I actually spoke, because I wasn't supposed to be here this month, but the essence of things that are happening in the community concerns me. One of the campaigns that's apparently getting ready to get started is called the Action Before Crisis campaign. And the Action Before Crisis campaign is a campaign to deal with specific issues that threaten the security of students and staff within the Newark Public Schools. The concerns that we have relate to individuals within the regions advising principals to call DIFAS on parents who can't afford to let their children stay home from a suspension, but the child has never been suspended before in 6 years. When we resort to those type of tactics of telling principals to call DIFAs, it kind of lets me know the position that this individual is taking, and is he doing it in the best interest of children or in the best interest of parents. The Action Before Crisis Coalition is concerned about $45 million being deducted from the budget last year and the same sum thereabout being deducted from the budget this year, to the tune of $90 million. If we deduct $45 million over a period of 4 to 5 years, we would have lost as a district almost $225 to $250 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Our major concerns is, what are the effects of these cuts? The effects of these cuts are privatizing security, privatizing the custodian, and other privatizations. Now, some of us must say, let them go, let them go. But they're your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your uncles, your sisters. I am disappointed that we continue to allow cut after cut after cut without challenge. Charter schools are coming in the middle of the night. You wake up, there's every new one it seems on every other block. I'm bothered by this. So as I say, I take my argument not only to this board, but I take my argument to the state board, because I think that they bear responsibilities too. And until they give us our fair share of the airport, which occupies 8 square miles of the city of Newark and makes millions and millions and billions and billions of dollars, I will not sleep and I will not slumber, because I think that we are entitled to our fair share. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Next speaker.
Sandra Burwell.
Yeah.
Everybody's here.
Next speaker.
Shelley Peters.
Next speaker.
Carmen Figueredo. No, that's
Mi nombre es Carmen Figueredo y la escuela es Queen Street.
She's from Quinton Street School.
El problema mío es que cada vez que yo voy a la oficina siempre tengo problemas con los que trabajan ahí, porque
She states that every time she goes to the main office, she has issues with the staff that's at the office.
cuando tengo un appointment con mi hijo siempre voy a buscarlo antes de tiempo para estar a tiempo al appointment. Entonces el problema es que me dejan ahí hasta 1 hora esperando y no me llaman al niño. Entonces me tienen ahí.
Okay. When she goes to for an appointment, they have her waiting at least an hour to get her kids.
En 2 ocasiones, sí.
Okay,
sí.
appointment with the doctors, and she goes picks up the kid early, makes her wait for about an hour or so before she gets her kid.
Entonces me dejan ahí esperando 1 hora y ella como si no me vieran a mí. Es como si yo no existiera, y va muchas ocasiones que me pasa eso.
It seems like when she's there, they don't even. It looks like she's not even existing. They don't pay attention to her or anything, and she's there for more than an hour, and it's been done various times.
También quisiera decir ahora en estos momentos que yo he hecho como 2 años voluntaria, y nunca en la vida me han dado ni un reconocimiento.
At this time, she wants to take the opportunity that she has volunteered for about 2 years or more, and she's never been recognized as a volunteer parent.
Entonces me fijé que ahora mismo le dieron un reconocimiento a una señora que tiene una niña que empezó este año, empezó en septiembre.
And now that she was here, she saw that during the parent presentation volunteer, one of the parents received a certificate and award who's only been there since September or so.
Entonces no es justo, eso no es justo porque yo también he hecho mucho voluntaria y nunca me han dado un reconocimiento ni en foto.
And that's unjust that I've volunteered so much and never received any kind of recognition or certificate for the volunteer as a parent.
Y no solo yo, habemos muchas madres voluntarias y ¿por qué solo van a coger una que hace solo 6 meses tiene la niña en la escuela?
And it's not only her, but many other parents who are volunteers that have been there much longer than one person. Why only one at this time?
Eso es todo.
That's it.
Mr. Galvez, if you can just have her wait until the end of the meeting and we'll introduce her to Ms. Daring. I think Ms. Daring's already met with her, and we'll try to get this matters resolved, okay? Thank you. Next speaker,
Well, Maribel Baez.
Maribel Baez.
I think that was she. No, no, it wasn't.
Yes. My name is Maribel Baez. I'm a parent from Queens for 5 years. And this year, I'm not doing no volunteer because I feel so depressed the way they're treating my 2 kids in Queens. First, my son, his teacher got fired. How are they going to learn if they don't have a teacher in that classroom? They need to learn because they was watching movie when the teacher got fired. They was watching a movie for until the last of this month. That's not fair for the kids. They need to learn. Because they go to school to learn. That's to watch movie. To watch movie, they watch in the house. That's my opinion. And then my other daughter, she's on special ed class. She's received therapy. That therapy, the only month that she saw my daughter was in October for 4 weeks. That's it. And then when I started complaining, she gave my daughter therapy for 2 more days in this month. And she didn't come back because she's sick. If she's sick, she needs to, to move out and let somebody to take place for her place. Because it's not fair for the kids to be in there. And I was doing volunteer, like I said, but now I don't feel happy in Queens. I want transfer for my kids. I want transfer to Louise Spencer. I don't want to be in Queens no more. I don't feel happy.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Baez, and we'll try to address those issues. Next speaker,
Joyce Quinones.
Ms. Quinones. Next speaker.
Maureen Robinson.
Ms. Robinson.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Robinson, Elizabeth, New Jersey, building rep, Westside High School. We have a $45,000 Xerox machine that was paid for by the public's hard-earned tax dollars, and part of it has been incapacitated for the past 3 weeks. It is midterm and final exam time. We need an industrial machine to handle the volume of production to meet the needs at Westside High School. The copy machines in the department chair's offices do not staple and/or correlate. I'd like to know whether there's money in the budget to purchase a superior quality industrial Xerox machine comparable to those in suburban school districts. The next issue I'd like to deal with is the troubling amount of calls that I'm receiving regarding the escalation of violence against students and teachers in the NAF Academy. I received a very troubling call about students who are getting high off asphyxiation. This is when students choke each other until they pass out. According to the television documentary, it's supposed to produce some kind of sexual euphoric high, but there's no guarantee that students will be resuscitated, or when they do come back, that they won't be brain damaged. I understand that 2 boys were found asphyxiated in the NAF Academy over the past several days. Staff is reporting that the building is out of control, that they don't have the necessary technology, books, and supplies, and that evaluations are being used to retaliate against and punish staff. Even more troubling, I question why not report this information to your own rep, and a serious allegation was made. We need our own principal at Westside High School full-time. Violence against teachers is on the rise at our school too. Therefore, it is imperative that our principal remains in our building at all times. I have never heard of a principal having to operate 2 schools, and since we have a new sheriff in town as a federal and state taxpayer, I am going to challenge the legality of any principal having to run 2 schools with the new Department of Education commissioner. If you need someone to provide assistance in running the NAF Academy on an interim basis, we have a very capable disciplinarian at Westside High School. He is well qualified, certified, and has the experience to do the job. There are no girls at AVC, so I'm told. That is discrimination. We have at least 2 female students who need to be removed from West.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lewis.
Ms. Robinson, you wasn't at our business meeting, but at our business meeting, I did bring up some of those concerns to the board, and Dr. Janey informed me that he will get in touch with Dr. Teller about them concerns about what's happening at Westside High School. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker.
Carter Branch.
Next speaker.
Van Ness Roper.
Next speaker.
Ines Davis Parks.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ines Mercedes Davis Parks. I teach Spanish at Westside High School. Good evening, Superintendent, Advisory Board, parents, teachers, and students, and the Newark Public School staff who's present. I bring you greetings on behalf of my students at Westside High School. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness by Mark Twain. The 21st century citizen must have a global perspective. This can only be achieved through exposure to and active participation in numerous learning activities, and traveling to other countries is one of them. I want to thank the board for granting the students, chaperones, and myself permission to travel to Spain and raise funds. However, after the fundraising activities were approved in October and permission was granted in November, I was informed that I could not sell candy or lunches, which was on my list of fundraising, to teachers in the building. And also I was informed that the Newark Public Schools Superintendent Mini Grant for Innovative Teaching was no longer available. This was a major setback to the Westside High School in Spain in March 2010 educational travel experience. I have pledges of up to $15,000. We've paid a down payment. I had to use my own personal money to register some students. The problem is that right now, even though a foundation has granted me $10,000, that's still in the process, and I have commitments from other people. Right now, by Friday, I must send EF Educational Tours $10,000, and I only have in our budget $6,400. Thus, I am seeking financial support either from the Newark Public Schools itself or from individual members. I want to thank the board members who are here who helped me the last time. Is my time up? Okay, thank you. I have to say this, that my students, which I call my children, I'm stunned here tonight because all of the things that I'm hearing about Westside does not happen in room 306. So I need to come to these meetings more often. Out of the 13 students, 3 are in the top graduating class. 1 is the valedictorian. 8 have GPA above 3.225. two special needs who are doing great things, and my babies need this experience. In 2008, I want to thank the board, especially Mr. Gonzalez is the only name I recognize. Thank you so much. The board gave their own personal donation, and here's what some of the ambassadors said when they returned back to West Side. Spain, traveling to Spain was a great once-in-a-lifetime experience. One said, the best experience I've ever had. The other one said, the trip to Spain was amazing. It showed me things outside of Newark. Traveling to Spain allowed me to learn about the country, its cathedrals, culture, and...
Ms. Parks, if you can do me a favor, just stay after the meeting. We'll have a conversation. Now, I'm just confused about something.
Yes.
The last year, we sponsored a trip. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, in 2008. Yes, the district
So we're
helped me.
doing a new trip this upcoming year.
This is 2010.
Okay.
Thank
so
you,
I
sir.
will commit to you what I committed to you last year, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. King.
Ms. Parks, I just want to let you know that I agree with you wholeheartedly, and that I can certainly tell you that the superintendent and the school district are working on more things for our students to think globally. We're definitely even working on trips so our children can think more globally. So we're in agreement with you. I just want you to know that. Well, that is part of what we're working on when I said the initiative. And until we have everything in place, we cannot tell you any amount. But one thing I did want to guarantee you that we are working on more initiatives for our children to travel, to see more things, to think more globally. Thank you.
Absolutely. Next speaker.
Stephen Outing.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Outing. I'm the president of the Intergenerational Youth Organization. It was founded by my beloved grandmother, Bessie Walker Williams, who was the oldest graduate of Rutgers University at the age of 79. And my topic for tonight, I was going to speak about something else, but I want to address this issue in reference to Speedway High School. And I heard the superintendent, Dr. Janey, say that they're not going to have a playground. I want people in the audience to understand this. They're not going to have a playground for our children in 2010. Just think about that for a moment. A playground. I don't understand this. We have an African-American president. We have a black and Latino body here. We have an African-American mayor. This is the most powerful, influenced city in the state of New Jersey, and you allow these folks who don't live in our community to tell our children they can't have a playground. And you sit here in 2010, you advisory board members, and do nothing, and you won't even pick up the phone and call the governor and tell him to bring himself right here to the city of Newark, and we want to know why our children don't have a playground. What is wrong with you? How could you sit here as an educator and sit here today and not allow our children, or sit down and be a part of that process and allow these folk from the state to not give our children a playground? How dare you sit here in front of us today and have no answers to the community? What's up with you guys? You're gonna sit here and tell me in 2010 our babies can't have a playground? We got a nation battling obesity. They're not feeding our kids proper food. And it's going to be a K-8 school with no playground. And you black and Latino folks, knowing how hard it was for you to work at 2 Cedar Street. First they said, you got to get qualified. Then you went and you got the education and you got qualified for these positions. Now they say, well, we're going to have a merit system. Yeah. See how they change things up? Now they talking about a merit system for you to get your promotion in your evaluation. Think about that. In 2010, you all ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Mr. Outing, if you can come on for a second. I want you to know that this board is well aware that it's unfortunate it's what's happening at Speedway, but this board and this body, unfortunately in this district, has no say over the SDA. But I will tell you what we're doing, so you know. Bradley Court, on South Munn side, or on opposite side of South Munn, we are negotiating with the Newark Housing Authority to swap. We are in the process of having conversations with Newark Housing Authority to swap some land, and excavate that area and build a. We have to work. Like Superintendent Janey said, he's working with Senator Rice and the Essex County delegation to start dealing with those issues. Just as far up as you are, maybe you do it. Maybe we don't do it publicly like you do it, but privately we do it. I want you to know that, Mr. Outing.
Okay.
I want you to know that we're going to be fighting there. We're concerned about it as that. We're not only concerned about that. We're concerned about the street, South Orange Avenue.
Yeah.
We're concerned about the walkway. We're concerned about crossing guards. We're concerned about police presence there, because those are our concerns as well. I just want you to know that. Thank you, Mr. Outing.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Mr. Chair.
No, Mr. Gonzalez.
Ms. King.
I just want to add on to that. So a lot of times people assume things. Things have happened that we live in this city. We feel the same way you feel. Some things, let me finish. Some things have happened even before this superintendent came on, and we were fighting against taking away a children's playground at Chancellor Avenue School. And we fought as much as we could, but the people who had the power, they decided, no, we want to do something else with it. So let me finish. So let me just finish saying that we are fighting against that. These are our children. We want the same thing you want, and we are just as angry as you want. Sometimes when you come here, you may think, oh, they don't care, but we are fighting against that because our children go to those schools too, so we want the playground.
We will have no back and forth from the public.
Excuse me.
All you have to do is sign up. Anyone can sign up and speak. I will allow anyone to come to the microphone and say whatever they got to say.
Excuse me, Mr.
And I
Chair.
will not interrupt you until you're done speaking. I have done that. Respect. If you come to this board meeting, I will let you say whatever you need to say at that microphone. But you need to sign up and speak. If you didn't sign up and speak, we can't have a back and forth between spectators. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Chair, I just want you to know, Mr. Outing, that earlier today I had a meeting with Dr. Janey, and after the meeting, I spoke to Senator Rice. And Senator Rice is working on getting his West Ward leaders together so that we can fight, that we can get something done at Speedway Avenue School. We asking Rufus Johnson, who is the freeholder, who also is a West Warder, to get on board. Myself, as a West Warder, as a board member, get on board. We asking all the district leaders in the West Ward to get on board to fight for our children. This is not a 5 to 10 job. This is a 24/7 job. This is my life. My life is fighting for our children, and all elected officials in the West Ward understand that, and that's why we are coming together to fight for our children, to understand that our children need a playground in order to keep their mind set on their success. Thank you.
And to Mr. Outing, I want to thank you for bringing that up, okay? Thanks a lot. Next speaker.
Veronica Williamson.
I thought I saw her. There she is. Good evening, Ms. Williamson.
Good evening. Happy New Year to you. First of all, the district's mandatory uniform policy was supposed to take effect this year, January 2010, but we still have many schools yet to comply. Actually, on Thursday, January the 21st, students attending Barringer High School were late to school several minutes before class, and those students were sent home and even locked out, not even given an opportunity to explain. I just want to know, they're sending children home for lateness, but no consequences for uniforms, and you guys, this is your policy. In October 2009, students not wearing a uniform who attended Westside High School were just locked out. They weren't even given a chance to explain why they were late, same reason as Barringer High, and the policy was not even mandatory enforced at that time. In the September 2009, October 2009 school year, my son, who attended Broadway Elementary BD program, during that time, within 1 month, had 41 plus incidents that were sent home upon my request for him. I'm just asking the board, because he no longer attends there, I took him out of district and placed him up at Child Development Center, where he's doing very well. I'm asking that this board look into that particular class at Broadway Elementary to just make sure that those other children aren't having such difficulty and incidents as such. Also, I know that Kappa visited Barringer High School sometime this month. I was in the school, and they were supposed to come to do the full evaluation. I just want to know, when will the Kappa results be posted so that parents can see? I would like to see for myself those Kappa results to see how well the school has progressed. Also, in some information I just collected out in front here, going back to the uniforms, you know, you guys, when you post things, you need to be honest about it, because I need to know what school was 90% that have adopted this new uniform look. Because when I go to the different schools, you know, your principals and vice principals, they're not even enforcing it. You know, I don't even see kids in the uniform. So I really need to know what school you guys have seen the kids in full uniform. Because when I go into Barringer High School, the kids are still wearing, you know, low-top shirts and other outfits. And it's just, you know, if you're going to make this policy, and I'm really big on a policy, if you're going to make this policy, then it needs to be enforced with your administration and your staff. Because if you're locking kids out for not having a uniform, and, you know, you're locking them out for being late for a few minutes, I just don't think that's fair.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Ms. Williamson will get something in writing to you in regards to that Kappa report. Okay? Thank you. Next speaker.
Donna Jackson.
Not present. That concludes our speaker list. Board members, we will now move to report by board members' committee reports. Old or new business. Let me just say, before everyone goes, let me just make one little announcement. As everybody knows, I've been a board member coming on my 6th year, 2 terms, and it's been a great honor and a pleasure to sit here as board president, but more importantly as a board member. I've decided to not seek a 3rd term, but before I say that, I just want to say this has been the best position I have ever served as an individual. It's been an honor. It's been a great work. I've had great opportunity to meet a lot of great people here at Newark Public School, great administration, great teaching staff, great administrators in our schools, and we've come a long way, but we have a lot of work to do ahead. But it's been a great honor. I just wanted to publicly say that, and again, thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
So, yes, Ms. King.
I just have 2 quick questions because I think it's important for the community to know. I know a part of the strategic plan for the district is to ensure highly effective teachers and principals, and being on the personnel committee, I was able to get some information in terms of some of the emails and different things that are going around in reference to teachers being absent more than students. And I know some things have been put in place to help correct that, but I think it's important that the community know about it. So I just want, if it's okay, Ms. Miller could just give us that information. I just have another one after that.
No. Next time, you just got to sign up the Thursday before, buddy. All right, see you down at City Hall. Go ahead, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. King. Is this on?
I don't think.
Okay, let's try this. We have had a process in place in the district called the Attendance Improvement Plan, and when we looked at the data of teacher attendance this year, especially as compared to student attendance, we've done a number of things to implement this plan considerably more rigorously than in the past. The AIP, Attendance Improvement Plan, is issued by the principal to a teacher who has been absent for more than 5 days in a row. With our new HR regional partners, one in each region, they are working closely with the principals to make sure that these AIP letters are issued in a timely fashion. And at the same time, on the executive team, we are monitoring teacher attendance in almost every meeting, breaking out by region and by schools. So we're keeping a close eye on it, and we are holding principals accountable for improving this.
Thank you. One more. Also, Mr. Gonzalez, there was some information that's going around that it came out that $17 million was not spent on school building level and the funds were returned to the district. Could you or someone possibly tell what validity is to that?
All right. Thank you, Ms. King. Ms. Wilson will answer that question.
Good evening. Ms. King, in response to your question, this past school year, which was probably the 08-09 school year, we took monies back from the schools to the tune of $7 million. And that was achieved by instituting a spending freeze in late December, early January, after all procurement deadlines had passed. And this is a practice that the district has engaged in for at least the last 3 years. By doing that, we are able to allow funds to fall to the fund balance. And as we talked about in last year's budget prep period, we talked about the gap in funding that we had in the district and actually the gap between our expenses and our revenues. And that was about $42 million. In order to offset that, our fund balance of $24.9 million was budgeted into the 9-10 budget. And that came from savings with expenditure freezes, any other areas where we may have had funds that we were able to coalesce once all expenditures had been completed. And that's a practice we use in order to deal with the issues of not having enough funds to cover rising costs, because as everybody knows, the district's funding has been held flat for at least 5 years. But it should be noted that schools, even with an expenditure freeze in place, are not prevented from buying items that are essential in nature, that support the academic role in the classroom. And each expenditure is reviewed by my office prior to it being approved or denied while we are in the freeze phase. Prior to that, schools have their budgets. In fact, they have access to do orders beginning in April of the prior year. So they actually have had probably almost 9 months to make those expenditures prior to the freeze being put in place and monies being redistributed to the district to be reallocated to cover expenses. And this is one of the ways we have been able to avoid layoffs. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. King, for bringing up those 2 points. Thank you. Any other old or new business board members? Mr. Lewis, I was looking at you. Mr. Lewis.
That's not funny. But Dr. Janey, if you can just, for the public, just to reassure them that the uniforms are mandatory in our elementary schools, not in our high schools, because we know that some principals and some VPs and some schools have been enforcing uniform policy in the high school, but the high school level is not mandatory as of yet. But our superintendent is going to work on reassuring our principals and our vice principals that it's not mandatory, so no child shouldn't be locked out of school, no child shouldn't be sent to suspension, and no child should be suspended for not wearing a uniform.
I think you made a good point, Ms. Lewis. Any old or new business? Motion to adjourn? So moved.